we know that the epidemiology doesn't work and that it doesn't prove anything.
Hang on. I'm going to let you get that dog under control. And I'll tell you, too, that I know that Dr. David Schneier also worked with this. He worked for a long time with the EPA. He was very concerned about the ethics involved here. We had him on the program. Alex Jones interviewed Dr. Schneier. And, of course, you contacted, I know all of you contacted the medical board there in North Carolina. Essentially, the medical boards, the elected representatives, you point out, people who are in Congress and the Senate who are doctors, nobody seems to have a problem with this. And it's simply the money, as you point out. It's the money for the universities involved in this research program, as well as the EPA and other bureaucracies like them who want to grow their little bureaucratic empire. It's extending power over our lives, and meanwhile, their partners in academia can easily be bought off regardless of the ethics issues. And to say that we don't have legal standing in here is just absolutely not true. This is something that affects us, even if, at this point, they haven't put us in a booth and hooked us up to the exhaust pipe of a diesel or gasoline engine. Because if they can get away with doing this type of experimentation on people, without their informed consent, experimenting on people, doing things to them that they could never get informed consent for because they have said that it will kill people. If we allow that precedent to be established, to stand, that is something that threatens every single person in this country and in other countries where our government has gone and conducted experiments on people in those other countries as well.
Well, you know, the important thing to understand is there are licensure laws in the states for any physician who has a license, and the licensure law is usually under the moniker of a Medical Practice Act. And a Medical Practice Act is specifically requires a licensed physician to act in an ethical and moral manner. And we contacted the medical boards in the state of Michigan to complain about research that was done at the University of Michigan. And we complained, I wrote letters to the state medical board in North Carolina, and those physicians were cleared within a month. Within a month, I had received a letter saying, we don't see any problem here.
Yeah. Yeah, money talks, doesn't it?
That is, I think, for any for anybody out there who's thinking, well, gee, you know, what is it now? How many people are now involved who are complicit in immoral and unethical human testing?
Absolutely.
Let's see. It's the physicians, the PhD researchers, the EPA, all the people from the EPA who send money to these different programs, the institutional review boards of the medical schools that approve the research, the deans and all the leadership of the medical schools, and the leadership and licensing board for the professional licensees.
It's widespread corruption, isn't it, Dr. Dunn? It's just amazing to see the extent of this. We look at this in so many different aspects of our society where there is absolutely no respect for individual rights, no respect for the rule of law. Stay with us. We're going to be right back taking your phone calls for Dr. John Dunn. I promise we'll get to your phone calls right after the break. About the EPA's human experiments, why we can't get those stopped, why they keep doing it, what it tells us about the state of America right now. Now, I'm going to go back to your calls, try to get as many of you as I can in this last segment that we have with Dr. Dunn. Joanna in Kansas and Aaron in Texas, who've been on hold for a long time. I'll try to take your calls in overdrive if you can hold on for just a little bit longer. Let's go right now to Chad in Washington. Chad?
Yeah, thank you, David. I just wanted to point out on the topic of particulates, I called in earlier about geoengineering, and just want to point out that regardless of what EPA says, I mean, we're all breathing in the nano aluminum particles as well. So I just wanted to make that aware, and people should research geoengineering and just be aware of what they are spraying in the sky, because it's not just
I agree.
carbon monoxide. You know.
Absolutely. That's true.
But thank you for the call, David.
All right.
I'll let you get back to.
All right. Thanks, Chad. Let's go to William in Alaska. William, you have a question or comment for Dr. John Dunn?
Yeah, I just want to say that Everything that's happening right now with geoengineering, with manipulating human DNA, with creating new entities from that, has been going on since the days of Noah in biblical times. This is nothing new. There's nothing new under the sun. The things that have happened in the days of Noah will happen in the days after. These things are all biblical prophecies that are being fulfilled till this day. All this stuff isn't new. We've known about these things, and these things are continuing to happen. I just want people to know that this is nothing new. People,
Absolutely.
Please open your eyes. And Alex, please, thank you so much for everything you do, Alex Jones, sir, if you're listening. Thank you for everything you do and all the information you put out. But people, please open your eyes.
Thank you, William. Yeah, it's very interesting. And, of course, the thing that has changed is that they do it out in the open. And as we pointed out, as Dr. Dunn pointed out, even though they complained to medical boards about the ethics of this, even though they complained to the universities, to congressmen and senators who are physicians who should know better, nobody does anything to stop it. Let's go to Mr. Lawler in Oregon. Go ahead.
Hey, guys, I want to thank you for taking the call today. And just to be clear on the EPA, let's just know that on 9/11 they were ordered to let everyone breathe the toxic dust. And so to take their word for it is just like, okay, well, go ahead and take your word for it and see where it gets you.
That's true. They told everybody not to worry about that dust as those buildings were falling down there, and we saw that a lot of people have had severe and actually have died from the consequences of the dust that they were told it's just fine. Go ahead and go in. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then on top of that, I think with the GMOs and the vaccines and the geoengineering and everything that's going on right now is kind of supercharging things on every level. You might take a vaccine, it will supercharge the GMO you're eating. Who knows at this point? That's what I wanted to ask the doctor. Is there any link between those things that can supercharge each other? And then on second of all, why take any of these Fox News or CNN commercials where every single commercial they have on there is pushing pharmaceutical drugs?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, to make it worse, why doesn't this stuff come with a trust agreement to where when we get violated by these pharmaceutical companies...
Hang on, let me get his comment because we're just about out of time. You got about 40 seconds, Dr. Dunn, to wrap it up and give us your final take on this.
Let's focus on what we're talking about today. And what we're talking about today is something that's pretty straightforward. The EPA claims that air pollutants are lethal, toxic, and cause cancer, and yet they're exposing people to those air pollutants in the lab. Either they're lying about the toxicity or they're lying to the people that...
Absolutely right. Thank you, Dr. Dunn. JunkScience.com. Stay with us right after the break. We're going to be back in overdrive with your...